Six bells. You want to join me in pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, hello, everyone. This is the November 12th meeting of the Town of Canandaigua Planning Board. See some new faces, so let me introduce the folks up front. Corrine Hatch is our recording secretary. Kim Burkhardt is our remote facilities coordinator. Tim Schneider is our alternate board member. Mark Tolbert, active board member. Scott Neal, board member. Amanda Van Laken, board member. Bob LaCourse, board member. Chuck Euler, board chairman. Eric Cooper from representing MRB. And Mike, excuse me, Warner. I want to say Murphy. Mike Warner, who is our zoning officer. So we're going to follow the agendas published. If you didn't get one, there should be one up front. It's relatively short. I take a chance saying that, but I think I can get through this okay, right? Please note if you have to leave the room, there's two exits to either side in an emergency situation. And with that being said, let me open the floor to privilege of the floor. Is anyone here? Or I guess we only have one participant remote. Have anything to address the board on regarding something that is not on our agenda? If not, we can proceed to the agenda. As far as legal notices, we have one legal notice that was published for a public hearing regarding a special use permit, which I will now announce that the applicant has withdrawn. So if anyone is here regarding 3487 Lakeview Lane, regarding a special use permit for expansion of short-term rental occupancy, that hearing has been withdrawn. So then we go back to the agenda. The first item, the CPN 2024-107, Bill Groves representing a property owner at 2639 Cooley Road. They are submitting a amended site plan. They previously approved site plan from a couple months ago. And they intend to amend the plan by adding a carport and doing some additional grading and landscaping. Bill, I see you're online. You want to give us
I'm here
of the revisions?
Sure. I think you summed it up pretty well. It was a site plan that we submitted. I think the last revision date was in May previous to this, but it was for the house and driveway. Generally all the normal stuff. So they got that underway, got a building permit, started construction, and then decided that they wanted to add a carport at the driveway turnaround, the end of the driveway, and then do some grading adjustments by adding some berms and additional landscaping, and some expand on some patio areas around the house. So we revised the site plan to show those changes, and that's the plan that we're presenting for approval now. So I guess a revision to the originally approved site plan.
Okay. So it's some grading, landscaping, and the carport. And it literally is a carport. It's an open sided structure. I didn't see a elevation of the actual structure, but that's what it is, Bill?
Yep, just open-sided, just a covered area for the vehicles. It was already going to be driveway area anyways.
So your impervious did not change, or if it did?
Correct. Nope, didn't change.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it probably changed a couple of feet, but not much.
Okay. I guess I didn't get a chance to look at the code, Mike, but having a carport in the front yard, is that permitted in the zoning district?
Yes.
I know in some districts,
Mhm.
it is not. The landscaping, the additional landscaping you're proposing, Bill, where is that, most of that located?
It's along the road. It's the kind of green, bottom left corner of the property there, that green caterpillar looking area is a new planting bed, bermed up about a foot, and then it goes across on the north side of the driveway along the road, and then turns along the northern property line. And again, it's about a foot tall. It's pretty small, but it's just a planting bed for some additional landscaping there, some buffering from the road and the neighboring properties.
We'll never turn down landscape.
Unless it's invasive.
Hey, Bill, is the height of the berm on the plans at all?
The proposed grading of so I show proposed contour lines on there. So I guess I didn't specify the height. I would say the maximum is 18 inches.
We at least asked to put that on there. Sometimes these berms start at 18 and then go to higher.
So, could you note that?
Let me ask if, is there a limit to that height?
I don't think there's a limit. I think if it gets kind of high, if you're gonna say 18 inches or 2 feet or whatever, but I'd like to know if it's gonna be like 4 feet. I don't want it to grow that high or something like that. It would be different than.
No, it won't be that high. Let me just double check. I got the CAD file.
Just note the height of the berm on the plan. Bill.
Talking about the height of the berm, not the height of the landscaping.
The berm.
Berm.
Okay.
Just that berm.
All around,
yeah.
right there to the other one.
All areas that have been designated as berms. Should be, yeah. Pointed out. Bill, I noticed with the wetlands delineation, as far as your legend designation was different than your actual on the plan designation, so you just had to have them conform. One was dots and the other was lines.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
See?
Okay.
Shows I read the plan. Will the carport have any gutters or downspouts at all, or is it just water running off the roof?
Just set off the roof there. Yep.
Okay. It's a pitched roof, is it pitched east to west, north to south? Probably east to west.
I think it's east to west. I think it may be just a
Okay.
a single plane roof and not I don't think it has a peak on it. But I
So
could
the
be
run-
wrong. I'm not sure.
Runoff would drain toward the driveway, I assume.
To the south.
Mhm. Okay, I'm trying to pull up your ECB comments that we got today, Kim. Hot off the press. Or the ECB comments on a couple of the applications. The ECB recommends that a disposal plan and method be developed for the spa water, as this water cannot be directed to the proposed wastewater system to allow it to just flow along the grounds. I assume that's the plan, to just have the overflow or the spa water drain onto the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely wouldn't go into the wastewater system.
ECB recommends a rain garden or multiple ones may blend well with the aesthetic the homeowner is seeking, while being able to mitigate runoff from various impervious surfaces, control erosion, and keep contaminants out of the federal wetlands You've got that swale running through the property. You're,
Yeah, and that would, it's not a rain garden, but it would act as a infiltration area. There's definitely a collection area. Intent is that it's gonna look like a dry creek bed. But I think it would, it will have some of the attributes of a rain garden without it being vegetated. So I guess
what is the surface of that swale?
like boulders, round rock, boulders, river rock. It's more aesthetic than anything else. There's not going to be much flow. It's not I mean, in a rain event, there may be some water running in it, but otherwise it's just going to be dry and look a dry creek bed.
And lastly, the ECB suggests that the location is very windy. Homeowners may wish to consider using native shrubbery on their western edge and possibly elsewhere to create windbreaks. Any windbreaks will also provide snow fence. West.
I think that's the point of the landscape berm on that
Yeah.
western edge.
Good. So is the berm for a visual buffer, or is it more just for aesthetics and landscape?
Yes, all the above. I don't think I mean, plants are gonna grow, but when it's initially planted, I don't think it's gonna, I don't think they're gonna plant, 3 foot arborvitae at 3 foot on center across the whole thing to block it. I think that it's just gonna be, some additional landscaping there.
The only other thing, referrals, Jim Fletcher had said he has his standard operating procedure as far as the new water service, as far as meters and also, I think we have that covered in the resolution. Board, I'm sorry, I'm going on talking as usual.
No.
Any comments, Carol? Concerns about this revision?
Just confirm, Bill, that property behind it, it's gonna be still farmed.
The adjacent property
Yes,
or the eastern edge of this property?
I guess it would be the eastern edge.
Like where the trees in the wetland are? No, I don't think so. I think it's just gonna be, like a meadow there. I think they'll mow it, but I don't think they'll farm it.
No, not
The property-
the neighbor.
the property
The neighbor
behind it.
property is all farmland, right?
I
Still,
believe, yes, it is. And I believe that would still be farmed.
that's what I'm thinking about. The runoff is going into that field that would be absorbed into that field. I didn't have any questions.
Okay, anybody in the audience?
I got a question for you.
Sure.
So I drive that every day and there's a greenhouse sitting there, right? Am I totally crazy? Right on the edge of that tree line to the north? It's like a little garage. It looks like it was a greenhouse at one point. You look at Encore, I'm not seeing it on here. Is it gonna stay? I'm sure it's on this property. It looks like a little shed, but it looks like it's a clear top, like at one point it was a greenhouse.
Let me see.
Like on this next property.
Right,
Where would be Scott?
so it would be on the northeast corner, see where it says existing trees, there's like a tree line through there, if you're looking at the property from the road. And there's a building, it's not big, I think it was a greenhouse, but it's not on the plan, I didn't know if it's gonna stay.
Oh, you're right. Mhm.
So are they keeping the, because it is on the
I
property. right?
don't know the answer to that. I would guess that it's gonna be taken down, but I don't know for sure. It's like a small shed. It's on the aerial. I haven't noticed it on the property, but I guess I wasn't looking that far down.
Looks like it might have been a greenhouse.
Okay.
Okay, we could, want to cover that with a condition. If a, existing structure is there, we need to know the distribution.
That's.
Is that okay with you, Scott?
Yeah.
Just for him to confirm or
Yeah.
defirm? And if it is, just tell us what's gonna happen. Anything else? Okay, we took care of seeker the first time around, so all we have is a amended site plan resolution in front of us. Someone wanna have at it?
You public and all,
Yeah, I did,
Okay.
It's,
and Scott would.
last call in the public, anybody? Okay, we move on. Someone want to give me a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the amended single stage site plan for CPN 24-107 at 2639 Cooley Road.
Okay, with.
How many new?
I have two more conditions to add, so 8 total.
8 total.
The seventh will be notes we added to the plans, clarifying the max height of the berm will be no more than 18 inches. Condition 8, clarify the intent of changes, if any, to the structure on the northeast portion of the property.
I'll second Scott's.
Motion and second, this incorporates the original conditions, I guess, from the.
Yeah, minus some that were.
Thank you. I don't see highway superintendent or water superintendent. I thought it was on there as a condition. Yeah, how about you just put a number 3, all comments made by the town code enforcement officer and highway superintendent are addressed. Okay. That should take care of it. Is that okay with the board?
Yeah.
All right. With that amendment, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks, Bill.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right, next, we have a review of a sketch plan designated CPN 2024-110 from Complete Cities Planning Group, and I guess Link's involved with this too, right? For a sketch plan based on the form-based code for a property, a new commercial property at the corner of Airport and State Route 332. And I guess to give it some background, since it is a form-based code requirement, the applicant has met with staff. That was back in August initially, I guess we're kicking this thing off. And then went to the zoning officer who issued a ZLD fairly recently. And with those 2 steps being completed, the next step is to come to the planning board with a sketch. And it's up to our discretion as to whether we want to comment on that sketch. If it certainly makes sense for us to, and anything that we would like to see done in the final draft of the site plan. And if the sketch plan is once we're through this stage, then the applicant has the consideration of filing for site plan, which I believe would go to the town board at some point and then come back to us for final site plan approval. So we're at the sketch plan stage. So with that being said, would you introduce yourself and?
Sure. My name is Andrew Spencer with BME Associates. And yes, Link Swedrock is the project manager, but unfortunately was not able to make it. So you have me tonight.
Okay.
No applause, no cheering. Fair. So what this proposal is, it's a twofold proposal. There are 3 properties that exist here at the corner of Airport Road and Route 332, all owned by the same owner. And what the proposal would be is to subdivide and create a lot for a new 22,700 square foot, single story auto dealership, which would become the Hyundai dealership. And I do have it kind of sketched out here, just to give you a little bit better background. So this is of course New York State 332. Property runs on Long Airport Road, comes to Summers Drive. And then immediately across the street on the west side of Summers Drive is another portion of parcel that all of this would then be subdivided into one parcel. That cleans up, so the Hyundai dealership would be on the north. The second parcel down, the second parcel is actually a square parcel that resides roughly in this location here. And the building, the existing Hyundai dealership is located right here. So one of the attempts is to try to clean up some of these property lines and make it look a little bit more of a regular development, if you will. So it is for a 22,700 square foot single story dealership. The building would actually be located right at the corner of Airport Road and Route 332. This sketch plan does depict that it meets the criteria for a front setback. It is set at the greatest, which is a 30-foot maximum setback. We would have an access drive immediately to the south of that building to access into this lot. And right, I'm going to point to my plan again because it's a lot easier for me to kind of point, if you don't mind. But the way the building is designed here, the showroom and parts would be up right on Route 332. There is a section of the building that would act as the service entry where you would bring a car in, drop it off to the mechanic staff. Then they would take control of that vehicle, bring it around to rear bay doors to get into the actual service center of the dealership. Customer parking would be just to the south of the building here. The remainder of this lot here, that would be the inventory, new car storage. They would also store cars across on the west side of Summers Road. This would just be for new car storage, bringing vehicles in, and then being able to transport those over to the main section here. That we are proposing access from Route 332. The existing access to the site is right here. There is an existing parking lot. There was a structure there at one point in time. Structure's been removed. I think it's been removed for a number of years now, actually. We're proposing to relocate that access point a little bit further to the south, get it away from the Airport Road 332 intersection. We're also proposing an access point off of Airport Road as well. And then on the other portion of the parcel, we would propose two access points, one from Summers Drive and the other one from Airport Road, coming to the south. We did meet with town staff. We did review this on October 14th, this past summer. We heard a few of the comments that came out about landscaping, lot coverage, parking coverage. We tried to at least start to mitigate with some of that and proposing some trees within that rear parking area. I don't know, we have a long way to go here from a review of the form-based code to get to a final site plan approval. Only thing I want to add too is we are also proposing that we have access running from this northern lot and cross access all the way through the remaining two lots here. So once you're into one lot, then we have access to go all the way through the three different lots that the owner currently has. We did provide a schematic of a building. It actually had a site plan associated with it and a schematic of the proposed building. This will have to be reviewed in greater context in relation to the form-based code, especially as it relates to the transparency on Route 332 as well as Airport Road. So we'll have to go through that process. But let you know, this rear section of the building, that will be the service area. And trying to get as much transparency in that portion of the building may be difficult. But we will try. It's our intent to try to get and conform to the form-based code to the greatest extent practical here. Per that meeting in August, through some comments from town staff, there's a creek that goes through the property. Could you bring the site plan back up, please? There is a drain, I'll call it a drainage way. It's a drainage way which was an open creek, but over the years, has also been put into piping as well. A portion that is open is immediately off of Route 332. This section right here, there's an open swale area, and there is a drainage pipe, a drainage line that extends through a portion of the site approximately to this point here. At that point, it then discharges, continues down a swale and gets to this wetland mitigation area that was installed a number of years ago, 15 years ago or so. I may not be correct with that date. I know it's a long time ago. Martin Yonda did that work many years ago from our firm. So, so the intent is to follow and allow for that drainage to come through. There is 100-foot buffer that is associated with that. So we may actually have to look for a variance from that buffer to allow for the positioning of the building, positioning of the parking. But right now, currently, there is a parking lot that is there. So it's already impervious surface, if you will. The other variance that was discussed, and we'll have to get a little bit further clarification on, is the amount of parking that is being shown on the site, the percentage of parking. We need the parking for the storage of new vehicles, getting new vehicles in and out of this facility for the sales. So we may have to look to get a variance from that particular code criteria as well. Other than that, I'd love to hear input, feedback, commentary if possible, so that we can kind of move this forward. Currently, we are conducting our on-site field survey, topographic and boundary survey for this. I would like to further this project along. With that, answer any questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Open up to the board.
Andrew, just one comment. I appreciate all the work that you're doing for form-based code. And one of the codes, I believe, says that the parking will be in the back. Have you thought, my thought, maybe would be to extend the building all the way across the front and have that carport pass through for the service and or a pass through for customers to get to the back. Just having the building in the front, just like we do in the form-based code, you could alleviate some of the, or help you with some of that transparency, and also put the parking all in the back. That was my, and then you still need a waiver for the blue line, because it's we call it a blue line, DEC blue line, for that. And then it would actually then become pretty much a model for dealerships on 33.2 underneath form-based code. By doing it, something like that. That was my only input to that.
Okay, that's something we can take a look at. I know this is a very standardized building.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, and you were talking about it today at the office. I'm going to a dealership tomorrow, a Nissan dealership, and it's the exact same type of setup. It's almost all of them, they're exactly the same. So
Yeah, Honda.
I hope that we can do something. But this is a very typical building style.
Well, you could stand out and be
Be new and different?
new and different, yeah.
Is that the reason for the new building? And you see the old one, like you said, it's only 15 or so years old. Is it just like changing brand standards that's causing the construction?
I think it's a combination of a few different things. Number one, we had been before this board and got site plan approval for the existing Hyundai dealership, because they were doing some facade improvements and doing some improvements on the building. And it has worked out that from a cost perspective, it would ultimately be more cost effective to put in a new building with all of what is required to today's standards in the structure versus updating the building currently. That was the explanation that was given.
Do they intend to keep the other building?
Yes, they do intend on keeping the other building
To
for
be
some
used-
form of automotive use, the same use. And
Collision.
maybe it's a used car, maybe it's another, maybe it's another car type. But they do want to maintain that structure and maintain its use.
So that'll be the Hyundai campus. Yeah. Okay. You did mention the possible variances needed, and I assume that'll come to light as you develop your detailed site plan. We talked about transparency and your concern or your effort to try to meet it as close as possible. You do have a front entrance to the building, which would be sort of a walk off from the sidewalk on the street for anyone that's walking to buy a car. Have to be concerned about lighting, so that's something you're gonna have to look at in your. As far as the number of parking places, that's based on the percentage. So I guess you'd have to meet that. And I guess as far as the landscaping, canopy trees along the street, which you do have along Airport to some degree. And you're required or asked to soil rather than any type of impervious around the base of the trees. So I assume that those islands will be vegetated in some manner.
Yeah, that would be our intent.
10% of the property has to be landscaped. The code asks for shrubs around the trees in the medians. So again, I assume around those medians, and I know landscaping on a car parking lot or auto parking lot is murder. But that's what the code says. Makes it awfully tough for moving cars and plowing snow when you want to have them ship shape to show them to the public.
It's even worse in one other aspect or two other aspects.
Trees.
Well, the
Oh.
trees, leaves, if the leaves fall down on a new vehicle and it rains, you have a chance that discoloration can occur. Just like today, if you park your driveway, leaves are on it for a period of time. The other is the bird, which is another consideration. So we will try
Well,
to comply with this as best.
As we tried to work with the dealerships up and down 332 and related to car dealerships and the form-based code, it's a little bit of a meeting in the middle.
Yeah.
We realize what your limitations are, but in the same regard, as Bob said, we appreciate your effort, at least as far as the building and doing what you've done. And maybe with some tweaking of that, we can get a little closer to the code. The landscaping, we pretty much held the car dealers to the landscaping requirement.
Honda dealership.
Just recently, up the street. Will you have any outside equipment at all related to the building, compressors,
Dumpsters.
well, that's the other thing, your dumpster corral.
Yeah, and I don't have that answer today. As we get a little bit further along, there would definitely have to be some form of dumpster refuse pickup area on here. The other car dealerships that we have dealt with, there has been outdoor areas for storage. But we will clarify all that, make sure it's all shown on subsequent site plans.
Well, and it has to meet a certain standard in terms of that corral.
Yes.
Sign stand,
To put charging stations for use as well on the property.
was that Avery?
You should have said
Asking?
yes.
Oh, he said yes, I'm
asking
sorry.
if it was-
I knew you asked, but we didn't see the response, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Hyundai it does have electric vehicles. And they do have them currently in their other locations. So my assumption is, of course, they
Yeah,
would
I think
repeat the same thing.
The biggest question that I would have is if it's placed not on the building, so I've seen them both on the building or adjacent to as an appliance attached to the property, or if they're standalone and island. And if you could just identify those, and let us know how many players.
Sidewalk connection to.
Do we have to do anything, Chuck or Bob, on the, I mean, it is noticed where that standing freshwater is, it's identified as wetland.
Yeah.
This proposal is proposing moving that, it looks like. It looks like that pond, because it's closer to where the building is, site is now, and that would have to move closer to, are you proposing moving that wetland?
We are proposing moving the existing, it was developed as a drainage pond, as a stormwater management area. And I believe what you're speaking of is the one
That one's
located right in this area right here.
That's-
We are in the process, will have to be in the process of going out and re-verifying the limits of the wetlands that are shown on this plan. These are based upon the former project to the south. But we are proposing that stormwater management area be moved. We do not believe it's a wetland area and can be under the jurisdiction of the Corps. So we feel that we can move it and place it further to the west.
So two things that I would ask you to look at, if that's the case, then is identified in Encore, as it does show the property has 4.2% wetland. So we would want to clarify that. And then if that is indeed a blue line stream, which Bob had already, and your Bob had said something about it already, we want to understand that.
I think that blue line can be interesting because it's in a culvert. And it's already protected.
That's what I couldn't tell.
I mean, if anything, a completed culvert to this, closer to the street would may help. But I mean, it's already covered.
I was
So,
here,
interesting.
when they did the original, I'm trying to recall, I know they had to go to DEC, and I think the Corps of Engineers to get approval for the closure. When they built the Hyundai dealership,
I believe that is
Yeah.
correct.
so essentially it was taking the stream, and putting it in a pipe, and there's all kind of approvals involved with that. Does that structure, drainage structure, have an easement running over it at all? And if it does, who's the easement in favor of?
That's a great question that I don't have an answer to, but as soon as we get our survey
Okay.
completed, we'll be able to just kind of finalize that. Yeah, it's-
Duly noted on your comments. See, it is a pretty large drain. Yeah.
There's another pond on the actual on the Hyundai dealership also still.
Yeah, there's two more.
So two ponds and two retentions.
The area on the far west, and I'll point to my little plan here,
Yep.
this one right here. This was an area that was developed as mitigation for filling and changing some of the drainage on this site here.
Yep.
That was then constructed as mitigation for disturbance of the other areas. So it may be something that if in getting a permit through the Corps or the DEC, that may have to be touched again.
I do also notice that, I just looking on Encore here, is that one pond that you're talking about moving has drainage from across the street coming right into it.
From the
Neighbor going
north.
out.
From Admar.
From behind Adma,
Yeah,
Admar there. That's what this shows. It's-
well, that's what's tying into that.
Do you think this is maybe the outflow going that way?
I'm thinking it's this way, 'cause this is
Coming in?
lower than
Okay.
this. And I look at the terrain contours.
Yeah, I believe what we have determined thus far, drainage is actually coming from the east to the
No, I'm
west.
talking from the north. North going northwest from the
From
corner
here?
of their property. Yeah, right there. Yeah, that's what Encore is looking at. I'm just looking at. the-
Okay. Yeah, we'll verify all of that and where that's going.
It's coming out of that woods.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's coming out of the woods and. Had to look at the contour.
So it's somebody else's drainage that's not controlled on their property being dumped on
Coming
them.
into your base.
I said that with a big smile on my face.
Yes.
I recently learned that there's actually not laws protecting them.
Right, yeah.
Excuse me, there are laws that protect you from that or not?
There are not.
We-
That was.
We've been there, been there.
Information.
Yeah.
So,
Andrew, are you proposing a sidewalk around the perimeter of the site?
If that is something that is within the form-based code, we would definitely be taking a look at that to, again, try to comply.
They add
For sure.
foot traffic there too.
Well, never knowing what's gonna happen
Right.
in the property Rockland, you said. Saloons or whatever, Rocco's lands there.
Yeah.
Randy Parker's lands. Getting, if someone wants to be a pedestrian to go pick up a car in the back, how do you walk from the front parcels to the back parcel? Or is there a walkway, or if you have a walkway along the front, you could walk on the frontage, but I assume if you want to bring your car up, someone has to walk back and get it.
Yeah, and I believe that'll need to be worked out with the dealership. My understanding is that lot to the west of Summers is purely for storage of new vehicles. So a customer will not be going there. Somebody from the dealership will be
Right.
going there to get that vehicle.
Inventory.
But
Yes, and
that
moving.
person
it-
has to
but
walk,
To
yeah.
to your point, yes,
Mhm.
we'll have to go back and forth between these across Summers Road.
Yeah, I figured you wouldn't make the customer walk. You got just a car in the back lot, and we bring it up. That's a gas line easement, right?
Yes.
Through there, it's pretty good, pretty powerful. Okay, anything else, Ward, to send Andrew on his way to work on?
I guess I understand that the intent of that back lot that will be completely clear. Just as a general observation, it does show 7.5% secessional northern part of it. When you look at things, and we're paying attention to the front lot where the building is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But the lot that's west of the secondary street does show as having an RL on it. So I'll just point that out. If there's. I doubt there's a way to have you come up with a proposal that means that that's a decision that from a planning perspective that we'll have to handle. Also related, correct, just this is information from each of this for because that's. Could you be combining these two lots at that point then? That you would intend to make one large lot that crosses the road?
That is correct. That is correct.
And that's how we can solve the auto lot parking component?
Yeah.
That's a
The
question.
lot line adjustment
Yeah.
to allow for that.
If it were
At least for the
standalone-
front two lots now. Of course, I don't know if Summers is public right away or it isn't.
The dead end on that side though, to a gate.
That goes down to
Package or.
I found that out.
I did too.
Turn around. Kim, did the ECB look at this at all? Or did you get it? You had too many other things you mentioned. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't this.
The ECB at some point will be looking at this, and as Mark said, all the natural resource inventory characteristics that we have will be looked at and applied to this lot. So maybe if you wanna take a look at that and see which apply, I'm sure the wetland issue, the stream, the potential of the hardwoods.
Again, come in with a understanding of what kind of hardwoods they are.
Yeah, I was just gonna.
They're all
suggest we could
ash or.
Take a look at what is there and kind of the quality of those trees, to understand what if we're moving anything of true significance.
After all lot line adjustments are made, what is the proposed configuration there? Because right now you've got the one large lot. And there's a carve out, it looks like in the middle of the parking lot, is that accurate? Of the existing property, so not on the parcel that you're showing tonight. But so there's a lot that shows on the tax map just to the south, so there's that square. Then so that's a separate parcel from what the existing lot is on. And then the area that, so in the end, is it intended that there will still remain 3 parcels here?
There may, I don't know if we've actually done full clarification. We know that we want to take the portion. I'm again point to my little plan here, because this portion and this portion are associated with this lot down here.
Yes.
This is its own piece. It does make it makes some sense to clear all of this and clarify all of it at one point in
The reason
time.
I bring it out is a month. So I think what you're proposing is that ultimately you want to combine what is this lot. For one piece. Then you'll have that piece and until you know otherwise, there would be what's left here and that piece. All of this is going, the percentages and things that I'm referring to when I speak to you, they're all factoring into that.
Right.
So depending on what's here, it might all be hanging out right here. So all of your wetland may, what the DEC considered wetland may center there.
Right.
And if this was man-made and there's runoff, that maybe we treat it.
Right.
That's why, kind of why I'm asking the question of how that layout looks.
Yeah, and as soon as we get some better information, again, from our actual field survey and understanding where everything is going, we'll have a better handle. And we will further the whole conversation about the subdivision, with the applicant, with the owner, to really get a better determination where that line in the sand really wants to go, but I understand your point.
Okay, anybody in the audience have any questions on this sketch plan? If not, you've got our feelings. And you can certainly take what we said and hopefully you'll apply many of them to your final design, but look forward to working with you and we do appreciate your effort to conform with the form-based code. Because it's a challenge for all of us, but I think in this case, we're going in the right direction. So,
Thank you very much. No, I appreciate the input. We look forward to working with town staff and move this forward.
okay,
Thank you very much.
how length we missed it. But you did a bang up job. All right.
Don't tell them that because they'll send me back.
Oh, don't you love this? All right, next we have CPN 2024-119, property of 3518 Sandy Beach Drive, and we are looking at this because it is an existing non-conforming property and because the applicant has requested to seek further non-conformity and other means, not necessarily in the same means. We are asked to look at it and then provide any comments we may have to the ZBA, who will be hearing this next Tuesday. And if the ZBA grants the variances requested, then we'll come back to us as a site. So not to confuse everybody, that's what it is. So we're here to talk about the application to the ZBA for the variances requested. Mike, if I could maybe ask you to go over the variances that are being sought.
So south side setback is gonna be 1.2 feet from the boundary lines to the 8 point.
Real quick, we updated that.
Oh, you did?
We're not looking for a side setback. The side
Oh.
setback is now, just real quick, is 10. So we are within. the
Oh, so you,
setbacks.
okay, that was
We
changed?
cleaned that up.
Okay, excellent.
That was the one we did.
So which one? I'm sorry, which one?
The side, the original one, we had a bumped out porch on the south side.
Oh,
of this
okay.
area. That has been removed. We've reworked the building a little bit to lower the
Okay.
coverage and then also bring it within the actual setbacks. So we're within the 10 feet setbacks.
Okay, so the front setback, you're still going.
Correct. Yeah.
36.7.
Correct.
Okay, you need 55 feet there. The height, 3.4, and you explained that at
Yeah, I'll go over that.
Right, yeah, the height variance due to the slope of the land. They need 3.4 feet over. Lot coverage is 30%. They going to 35.1, and the building coverage is 20%. They're looking to go 30.8%. So you're gonna need 10.8 building coverage variance.
Okay. So again, looking at this from a planning board perspective, not necessarily telling the ZBA what they're charged to do. What are your concerns?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. Certainly coverage is one of the largest concerns. That area does have noted water problems.
Right.
As they're designing that primary building to achieve the lot coverage, I would propose or suggest they consider removing the structure across the private roadway for that. To allow you to hopefully, I think if you did that, then you'll be able to achieve the coverage and not require variance for that. Is that correct? Did you run those calculations?
If you did, you'd be also removing the area for parking the cars, and we'd still need a pervious area or an impervious area there to park cars. And that's right now, the plan is to, right now, there's the existing cottage, tear it down, bring it more in conformity with the side setbacks, get it more centered with the lot, because right now, the northerly lot and our lot are really close together, as you can see on the plan. So the goal is to take that down, bring it back farther south. We are gonna expand on it to become more of a usable area for the home for a modern house on Canandaigua Lake. We're definitely within that realm of size. So the goal is to get it more in conformity. I guess we are expanding on some of the lot coverage and building coverages. The height issue that Mike was talking about was we are at a really low level in there, like you mentioned, with water. Instead of trying to come through and mound up the dirt and just create a 25-foot tall house, the house is designed at 25 feet. It wasn't until we got farther along that the designer, we realized we had to bring that up to be 2 feet above flood. So instead of mounting dirt up around it and causing runoff issues, we decided that we would try to get the variance for the height, just so we're not displacing floodwater somewhere else. We're doing proper flood management building practices. So that kind of gives us that. We'll have steps up and things of that nature, but that's really what's driving that height. The house has been thoroughly gone through with design, and we do have all the designers here to go through if you want to talk about house design and size and things of that nature, but trying to keep it as low as possible and still get that usable space we want to see in modern building practices. As for trying to lower down that lot coverage, like I said, right now, that frame garage is going to be used for storage, just like a garage would, but also parking. That's currently what it's being used for now. The area between Sandy Beach and that garage is not really big enough to fit a modern, larger car. When I was there to do the survey, I had to you can't pull in perpendicular, you're gonna be sticking into and impeding access. So mostly all cars will be used to be tucked away and out of space for storage, things of that nature. So if we knock that down, we'd have to put a parking area anyway. And we would be increasing.
What's the square footage of the structure?
850 square, on the garage, the 850, 847,
And the main building,
2,500.
2,500 per level,
Footprint 2,500.
footprint of 2,500. So which then, if you're going 2 stories on that, could allow for a total square footage of 5,000 square feet.
It's actually 2,300 square feet between the 2 stories. So it's the actual lot coverage is only about 1,200 square feet.
Okay, so it's
Sir,
1,200.
sir, do you want to give us your name?
Sure.
For the record.
Sure, Raymond LaChase. I'm an architectural designer.
Thank you.
And I apologize for some of the questions as we were reading through the notes on this. I'm very familiar with the lot. as we're reading through the notes with all of the initial variances, they're all blended in what we're reading.
Mhm.
So what's happened on the site plan to what's in some of the notes has changed quite a bit.
Understand.
And so certainly if there's a way to recapture as much of that lot coverage as we can, because the percentage is as low as possible, we would certainly want to do that. Just because really there's a heavy water issue there. As you've had it for a period of time, so you know that. And you see the problems that happen. So I appreciate you want to get it above the floodplain in that region. Can you also confirm the setbacks they were very minor setbacks that were initially requested for lake setbacks?
So that was, I apologize to interrupt your thought, that lakefront setback was actually just a drafting error, so we are maintaining that 30-foot minimum setback from the lakefront.
And I thought that had happened in the revised site plan too.
Yes.
What I was-
That was one of the, between PRC, that week period, we did some modifications.
Yeah, and just to revisit your comment on the lot coverage, so the earlier version of this design actually did have additional lot coverage on it. And after, taking a look at the variances that we were asking for, that porch that Anthony mentioned on the south side of the house. We took a good hard look at this and actually spent a good amount of time with our client and cut down on the square footage of the lot coverage, and we actually reduced it by about 350 square feet just of coverage. So what you're seeing now is actually an improved upon version and a more simple version of the house that the client initially was looking to build on the site. So, we do feel that we have been making a very conscious effort to try to be as respectable as possible of the requirements brought out by the zoning resolution. We're just trying to do our best to strike a balance between meeting all the requirements of the resolution on such a tight, difficult site, and also providing our client with a house that they'll actually be able to use and enjoy, with the intent that they have for the property.
You by any chance know the rate of the house to the north, the blue gray house, whatever,
Actually, there is if you want to pull up, there's some drone images with a digital inlay of the building. So you can kind of get a feel for it. We don't know the exact height, but we can provide that. Also, when it comes to the water concerns, we are doing some stormwater management on the north and the south. There's also a low spot on the east side of the garage that we're gonna try to clear up a little bit. We have been kind of talking back and forth about possibly putting a rain garden in back there to kind of make that more of a usable area for the client. And right now, it's just kind of a wet area, as you know.
Yeah, the challenge with rain gardens that's just been proven is that they're rarely maintained properly.
This is correct.
So they have little impact. I appreciate the concept.
And Anthony, I appreciate your drainage plan on here too. I looked at that extensively. You don't have anything going into the lake, which is really great, which we really like to see. But I'd like to see better detail in your detail sheet.
Okay.
On actually how that's gonna happen. Is it a dry well or is it just all French drained or? They see
It's
the
all
pop-ups
infiltration
and-
trenches, so.
Yeah, so
there
just
should
a
be-
little bit better
yes, we can
detail
do that.
would be great.
Absolutely.
And just to confirm, you're keeping the 3 maples on site?
The 2 maples along the lake, we're gonna try our best to keep them. We have a landscape architect, Dan Hackett's gonna come in and, during construction and really try to help us maintain it. The one on the roadside might be a little bit tight with getting into that drip edge.
And I didn't see anything on the plan, which is good to see, but there's no driveway. There's no driveway there now, no hard surface,
No.
just grass,
Correct.
even going to your garage there. Your neighbor to the north there has come to us before for his garage, because he had wetlands back there also. I noticed your garage is higher already.
Yeah, it's like
He
that.
wants-
It's a more of a modern garage that was built. I don't know exactly when it was built, but it was
Yeah.
definitely built after the cottage.
Yeah. Personally, I don't have too many problems with your setbacks, because it's kind of what Sandy Beach is going. But like Mark is commenting, we need to really mitigate the water down in Sandy Beach.
Yeah, that was one of
Big
our
thing.
plans, and we could try to beef that system up too if necessary.
Can you explain to me what's preventing you, so on the height restriction? I'd like to understand what's preventing you from meeting
So
meeting the variance.
So right now, the elevation of the ground right now is about like 690. We have to be at 693.2, which will 694, 2 feet above what FEMA considers the Canandaigua Lake flood. So that's almost 3.5 feet higher from where ground level is. And instead of just coming in, mounding up that dirt and keeping floodwaters away from us and pushing them to the neighboring property, because if we fill in, it's just gonna go somewhere else if we do have an event. It's not in a significant amount of water, but it still is water that, you know, we're pushing to the neighbor to the north, to the neighbor to the south, to, you know, any property I can't even like. So by doing, not building it up and just raising the floor, because we do have to hit that 693.2. That's not a variance that we can get to lower that, nor it's probably not the proper way to go about it. So that is, you know, the house, like I said, it was designed to be 25 feet. If we could put it at the normal standard height, like with what the grade is today and, you know, 6 inches above what it is for the block work and where the first floor is, we wouldn't have that problem. But due to us bringing it up almost 3.5 feet from where the ground is today, that causes that height variance restriction that we need to go for.
And again, just to add and kind of revisit my earlier comment on trying to be respectful of the zoning resolution. For the actual roof design, we are proposing a roof with a very low pitch in order to, you know, maximize the amount of interior height that we're able to achieve between the 2 floors of living space, while still being respectful of that maximum height and you know, preserve the sort of aesthetic that you see if you're viewing the adjacent lots from the lakefront. You know, if you go back to the first image, you know, you can see that even though we are a little bit over the height, the maximum height allowed, we're still within the character of the adjacent properties.
What are you attempting to do for ceiling heights inside?
For ceiling heights inside, so for the first floor, we're trying to maintain a ceiling height of 10 foot clear, and the second floor is 9 foot.
So
So,
we could take 3 feet out of that and bring it back to.
well, in order to meet the code minimum, but again, I mean, to be honest, what the client paid for the property and what they're expecting to be able to do with it
They've created their own hardships.
Yeah.
So. I
in
mean,
some ways.
The height variance is an important one that has been fairly rigid over the years, and there's reasons for that. There's scenic view shed that comes into play, and everything that comes with it. So it's, if there is a way to meet the height restriction, I mean, my recommendation from a planning perspective would be to not seek the variance. I'm just one opinion. And share the.
I would mirror saying also your shoreline guidelines would have to be really amped up to cover all that frontal darker house or whatever, but
You have a lot of window transparency there,
Yeah.
first of all.
it's good.
And I'm not sure if your facade's gonna be white, but that makes it stick out like a sore thumb. So-
It won't be white. No, it'll be
Okay,
more of
well,
a, more
You're
of
not
a
helping your
grayish.
cause by showing us weight. And as Bob said, the shoreline guideline in terms of buffering, landscaping. You know, a lot of work to do there along that front of that patio.
We did have a landscape plan on there. There is,
You know,
there's plans to put plantings on the north and the south side of that patio, plus, you know, being able to try to keep those big mature trees is.
okay, if you did, I didn't see it. That just shows some shrubs around the existing trees.
North and the south side of that terrace. We could definitely infill that in. And beef that.
And I think from a planning board's perspective, the building coverage and especially the lot coverage are concerns we have that we will be looking at, and I think. I would recommend we tell the ZBA that this is just an overdevelopment of the lot. Certainly, I think the idea of trying to center it in the lot is good, but by moving it further closer to the street. It is now protruding out further than most any house either side of it, so you've got. And as a result, you need the front yard variance to make it work. It's just too big a house for a relatively small lot. I realize the property owner paid, I'm sure, good money for it, but it is sort of a self-created hardship and buying the lot and trying to do more than the lot allows for. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I agree with that.
There were some deeds in the file. In the one, in our.
It was just recently transferred, that's why it's in there.
Okay, I have
That
no
was,
idea
um,
how they, what they applied to.
They were, Sarah wanted the, because Encore wasn't updated yet.
Okay.
And improve the, ownership.
In the meanwhile, high water 692, you said?
You mean high water?
Yeah.
680. You're talking about flood?
Yeah, whatever, you have to be 2 feet above the.
2 feet, you have to be at 694. On this plan, it's 693.2, but that's because of the difference between, dams.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have any comments on, like to address the board regarding this evaluation, I guess I'd call it, of the variance request? Nope. Okay, well, we will put together a comment letter to the ZBA. Their hearings next Tuesday. This was really quick. Just for clarification, the rear yard, the lake setback, that went away?
Yeah, that one.
Mhm. You had 29.9.
Yep, the lake side and then the rear, so it's building coverage, lot coverage, height and front.
Front yard, okay. Height, building coverage and lot coverage. Okay. Very good. So that's, I'll put that together, send it to the ZBA and on behalf of the board, I'll have the board look at it before we send it out. And they will have it for Tuesday's meeting. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thanks, Phil. Okay. As I had mentioned earlier, the Lake Vista special use permit has been withdrawn. Let's go to a referral from the town board regarding a local law draft to reduce the minimum size of a dwelling unit from 1,100 square feet to 720 square feet. Has everyone seen that? So I guess there's two actions really we have here. Is first, are we okay as a interested party to designate the town board as the seeker review agency? And second of all, do we have any comments on the reduction of the dwelling units? And I should say,
There's some background as to why this is being proposed.
well, I guess the trend is towards smaller dwelling units, and I think the building department, code enforcement sees a number of requests for smaller than 1,100 square foot buildings on a property or dwelling unit, structure. And to address that, given the cost of building materials and
It's for manufactured home. It's not just for manufactured.
it's not just manufacturing, no, this would be tiny house.
Also,
You want to put a 724 square foot frame home on the property, ground up.
Permanent structure. Yeah, permanent structure.
It looks like it is just making it consistent across the different versions of a dwelling, except for the apartment unit, which has the different, like, efficiency, 1 bed, 2 bed, they're all less than 720, but then the 3 bed and the 4 went to 720 as minimum.
I know we've had people coming in here wanting to build these kind of homes for parents getting out of downsizing, places near the hospital for medical staff that need a smaller place, not a larger home. And we've had to turn it down. So those in the history of that's what I've seen here on the board, turned down. We haven't got it yet. Never got it.
Sarah had mentioned in our last meeting that they had to turn down a number of projects because of. but they have seen issues. So that as a result, they don't make it to this.
No, it wasn't.
Right.
Subject to the variance. Right. Next question.
Why was 720 square feet chosen? I don't know, do you remember when the manufactured home was 720, sorry?
Oh, okay, that's.
I think
right.
they were just looking for a number to settle in on, because
This-
I should say there was also consideration by the ordinance committee and the members of the town board on that committee that it'd go down to 0 and be no minimum.
Right,
That was a consideration, but I think the consensus was, the majority of the consensus was to have a number, but reduce it to 720, which is the current manufactured home.
Just
area.
to clarify that, the resolution, well, it was discussed that the public hearing that's gonna take place in December is gonna, have no set minimum to, so it's gonna be a decision between the 0 or 720 or anywhere in between, but that's, so the resolution, is gonna be amended for the public hearing to just basically eliminate or reduce the minimum size. So I don't think there's a set number yet, as far as, but those are the two numbers that are in the town board's mind, either 0 or 720.
So
But
that's
there
been
also
amended
was
since
discussion
we saw.
about somewhere in between too, so.
Okay.
So it could be 0, but I think the draft we saw had 720, which is, I think, the way it came out of ordinance originally. Again, I think the town gets a lot of requests for buildings, structures of this size. As far as it applying to if you have a property and it has a house on it and you want to put another
Mhm,
dwelling unit on it,
mhm,
it doesn't apply to that.
mhm.
Because that's another kettle of worms that they gotta wrestle with. That would be the tiny home.
Yeah.
Put mom and dad in the backyard somewhere. Which is a consideration, because that apparently is something that's been in demand too, or in vogue anyway.
Isn't that allowed in some zones, some already?
There's something
Oh,
about
yeah,
that
that
is within your dwelling, so the accessory dwelling unit. And it's currently, right, it has to be basically inside the structure, but you couldn't have it above a detached garage or as a separate standalone structure.
I think that'd be wise to think about,
Yeah,
is a standalone separate.
yeah.
I almost thought about that from my mom.
Sure.
Mhm.
Is
Well,
that
as far as, I'm sorry, Scott.
No, it's just for affordable housing, this may also be.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
That's
it's a help
also
for
part of
that.
it.
dire
The cost of
situation.
building
Yeah.
materials.
I think it's really commendable for the town to take this action, it's something I was looking at and trying to push while I was here as well, for just that reason. I mean, that's an extra 300 square feet of living space you have to pay for.
Yeah.
Between 720.
Yeah.
To allow people to economize with the money they have to get a roof over their head. It's an important change.
Just playing devil's advocate here a little bit, I think a concern that we may run into later in the chain is a character of the neighborhood coming. Because then obviously you can start changing lot sizes and everything else that comes with it. And what made me think of this as we were looking at it is I kind of chuckled at my old deeds. About 60 years ago, there was a minimum requirement that you couldn't build a structure less than $1,500. I can't get somebody give me a quote that it's less than $1,500.
You buy a refrigerator.
But that may be something that we'll get tasked with, and I'm just putting it out there. I mean, I love the concept of tiny homes. Unfortunately, in many of those cases, the square footage cost just escalates rapidly because you have to put in so much infrastructure to build something anyways, but I think the risk is low. We run into problems really with that, I'd like to build something smaller. I just struggle with hearing somebody complain about doing something smaller.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a developer to do a mini home development.
I mean,
I think that's the
I think
character.
they tried to, there are some areas that tried to do that. Look at
Yeah.
Seneca Lake,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there, off the lakefront, and those environmentally friendly properties.
Right.
I think they tried to do that.
Mhm.
I think that was pretty neat thing.
Yeah.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
Just I'm not sure it costs less.
Oh, they know.
Okay.
I think you also have to consider too, the houses don't necessarily have to be built in their final form, as I'm sure everybody knows, you can add on to it afterwards. So people can have the opportunity to buy a home that fits them at that point, and as their family grows, they can add on to it, or as their income grows, they can add on to it. It's a good starting point for a lot of things.
Little farmhouse.
And
I
there,
mean, a lot of post-war kid homes were 800 feet, or 800 square feet.
The free market will determine it too, in every way, right?
So from the board's perspective, we don't have any concerns regarding reducing it. Well, 720, I guess, would be the max now. It could go lower than that as the board deliberates at its hearing or takes testimony at its hearing. Would you have problems with having no minimum?
I think then it would, I think then it potentially becomes an issue of what is a minimum requirement to establish any, I mean, a lot of communities will have minimum rights that you have to build 144 square foot something. Otherwise, you can't get utilities on property, for example. And so they're looking at welfare, they're looking at minimum bedroom sizes of what somebody could live in so that you don't get into negative housing scenarios as well. So I think there probably is a lower limit. It's not 720. So I mean, that 134 square feet of having sleeping, eating, cleaning facilities in it is probably way small. But I'm not worried about that.
Well, there's certain structures that have houses, the building, sounds like.
Habitat for Humanity houses that get built for 1,100 square feet.
They're pretty big.
Yeah.
I've helped them build them. They're pretty big.
Yeah, they're not small. They're not small. Okay, not even close.
I mean, structures have to have certain things. I mean, you gotta have somewhere, bathroom.
Yeah.
Somewhat of a kitchen. Somewhat of a bedroom. Of course, bedroom could be in the same room as the living room or the.
Chuck, I saw a $315,000 room in Knoxville.
Oh, really?
That was for sale as not a one bedroom, an efficiency unit.
so if, let's say if it went to no minimum, the minimum for having utilities or having, utilities, property, like the property owner would still need to meet the requirements of like what they can do on the land. Like they can't just park up like a million campers and make it like a, camper land, right? So,
That's not a
Permanent structure.
permanent structure.
Permanent.
right,
I
right.
think that's low risk if the term permanent structure is used, right?
Mhm.
Then I think that's less of a concern related to health, wellness and all that.
Right.
So you're saying you don't have a problem with 720, dropping at 720, but there should be a minimum somewhere. Whatever that
Minimum
number
here
is.
just related to single family developments, right? So it's not just like a random structure, the building code provides a minimum.
That's true, because code will dictate what a single family structure is.
I also don't think should worry you too much. There's only 19 properties in the town of Canandaigua that have a building square foot less than 720.
Would there be more for it? I mean, what we heard
Could be
last
more.
month was that there were requests for a dozen or more that. Again,
It's
I think
uncommon.
I'm just trying to think through what we're gonna get asked next, right? Somebody's gonna find a loophole on something that
Mhm.
we're gonna have to answer.
I have a loophole, can I ask? So,
Sir, do you want to stand up, at least give us your name and address, since you took the effort to come
Andy
down?
Paris and 3491 Lakeview Lane. I went through this several years ago where I was trying to build a workshop, and trying to have a freestanding workshop in New York is impossible unless you have a house on property. So if you have a house, you can build a workshop, unless it's in Macedon, where the workshop can't be more square footage than the house. But everywhere else, it doesn't matter. So if I could actually build a 200 square foot house, and then I could put a 20,000 square foot workshop on it, I would do that all day long. And so that would be the downside to minimum square footage. Is that dirt cheap to put a house on a big chunk of property, and then you can put a another building on there because you've got a house and that meets code, I would do it. So that, if you're looking for a loophole, people are gonna try to find, that would be it, because lots of people want freestanding workshops that aren't in their own backyard. And there's just not a good way to do it unless you make it 50% ag, and nobody wants to have tractors parked in half their car workshop.
They can get the minimum for any sort of dwelling outside of a manufactured home workshop. Maybe put a manufactured home there. But even still, that's.
Thank you, sir.
That's a corner. I think that brings up a good
You
point.
can buy them on Amazon.
Was it
You
Michigan?
wanna buy a house?
New Michigan Road? New Michigan Road, we had somebody that wanted to have a home business.
Yeah.
They basically said you can't do that.
No, he said we could do it.
They wanted the building on the roadside and the commercial building on the roadside and the house in the back.
No, yeah, right. It was an 8,000 square foot barn that he wanted to put in the front.
Yeah.
Which now is allowed.
Well, to have a plumbing business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Plug it out.
yeah, that was a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a house though, too. Yeah.
One that runs business.
So that's a risk, right? Somebody,
Okay.
Well, that's a wigger for too,
they know.
manage.
Well, can our recommendation to town board be that no problem with reducing it to 720? And as far as a minimum.
There's concerns.
We could
There's
say there's
concerns.
risks
Yeah.
around.
Something,
I mean, maybe we turn that back to other parts of the town offices and ask them all of the bad stuff that could happen, right? So if somebody says I'm building a 10 by 10 structure, 100 square feet. What else? And I call it a house. What loopholes did we just open up that allow for other things?
It's how, it have to fit in the building code.
definition of the dwelling
Yeah,
unit.
so there's, so basically the minimum would default to the building codes.
So a dwelling unit has to have a kitchen, has to have a bathroom, and has to have a sleeping quarters, correct?
Yeah, I believe so, and it would require certain minimums for those things, so.
But I think that's 12 by, for the main bedroom, is that 10 by 10 or 12 by 10?
The main bedroom can be 7 square feet if it's one person.
I thought it was 100 square foot if it was so.
If it's two people, it's 100 square feet, and then 50 feet above that for every person.
So 70 square feet for the bedroom.
Yep.
What's the minimum square footage for the bathroom and the kitchen?
Standard bathroom is 5 by 9, so that's 45.
Because I saw those numbers for the bedroom, I remember the 70 and 100. So now you're talking something, you could build a structure that is 200 square feet, it's a. Habitable.
Yeah, we don't want to run up against what the building code minimums.
That's probably the way to say, it. Yeah, keep it above building.
Building code minimums.
Okay, I think I got your drift. Okay with 720, there's gotta be some sort of minimum.
And if when we change.
Below, if you're gonna go below.
Batch of applicants, then we'll know that.
Right.
We've either done something really nice or wrong.
They're waiting to get in. Okay, let's double back to the minutes from 10:22. Any correction I have on what you sent out last, Karine? I think it was the Adobe subdivision. You said something about there were comments from the audience, and really it should have been there were no comments.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think it was on the
Okay.
Dobies. Yep. So with that correction, any others? If not, all in favor?
I,
Okay. We have new releases. No extensions, right? I knew you were anticipating. So
I was hoping they would since they're expired.
we haven't seen them yet. All right, training, getting near the end, folks. I think most everyone's got it covered. There is an opportunity with the Planning Federation. They're doing they're calling it a bundled training where it's a video conference, or it's taped seminars that they've done in the past. And if you watch it, they will give you credit for that seminar. So that's I think there's an email, and so if you're trying to catch up and you don't have time to spend time watching when they want you to watch it, you can watch at your own leisure on that bundle thing. So please get your hours in, as we usually always do here at the planning board. And anything else?
A few things, I'll be quick.
Sure.
I've been working with Murph and with Sarah on some of the environmental stuff that I've started conversations on.
Mhm.
So we should start seeing some momentum on that. Murph mentioned that one of the topics that I brought up that with them is the setbacks related to blue streams and our waterways. I don't know if he's asked you yet, but Murph is more than happy to come and talk to the boards about the impacts the potential impacts related to that. He's got some knowledge in that area. So I think he's gonna be asking for time on the agenda. So just so if he hasn't already, so you know that that's coming. And then,
While you're saying that, Mark, I think it would be good if it was tied into the new floodplain.
yeah, that's what we were
Yeah.
talking about that too. And that's something, so as I understand it, the enforcement entities within the town can already use they're using the proposed FEMA changes to that, so that's something for us all to keep in the back of our minds. But yeah, I think he was planning to begin, so, but he told me he was gonna ask you for time on one of our agendas. I was hoping maybe it would fit this one, but if not, maybe it's requested for next.
Not yet.
And then the third is looking at something that we got talking about in one of those meetings was part of our chart with planning board was to make sure that we're living up to the comprehensive plan and driving change towards it. So one of the things that I would just put out there, maybe we should start doing is look at the key components. There's a lot of data in the comprehensive plan. And we talk about pieces of it. We talk about affordable housing, we talk about agriculture, we talk about many of the components from here, but looking at them, there are metrics and KPIs, like key performance indicator sections of that. Maybe we pick one a month, one every other month, and look at it and say, what do we think that means to us? I ask the question every time affordable housing comes up, is what's our definition of it? And somebody will look at me and we'll have a discussion, but we don't define it. Maybe we need one of those a month to make sure that we're following the comprehensive plan. Or at some frequency. I'm not trying to create more work for us, but I think that might help us continue to add input to the comprehensive plan, as well as, you guys know I love metrics, so I can get us some metrics.
I do too. I haven't
To
seen it.
determine if we need more of something. But in the back section, these are thanks for pulling that up. You'll see that there's areas that are listed as priorities.
Priorities and, you know,
as
action
well as
items.
Action items.
Yep, and
And
certain,
also certain KPIs. Key performance indicators is whether or not we're meeting the measurables and looking at some of that.
I know I've been monitoring anything that we are the primary carrier of an action item, and I think for the most part, we've been pretty much on top of it. I really haven't spent much time focusing any of the secondary or ones that we're not even really involved with, but if the board would like to take a look at them, we certainly can add them to our list.
My thought is, maybe the council right here. A few years ago, I was on the town meetings that developed 5 parts of the town comp plan that we would talk about that year. Is there those goals ever been established each year? This year? I remember we sat down at the park and it was
Yeah.
like, we all hashed it out. It's like, this is what we want to talk about. This is how we're gonna metric it. Or the town vision in the comp plan, but did that happen? I don't know.
Not since I've been here for the last
Yeah.
few months, so.
Well,
I know it's a long day. We try to figure out.
we've got the godfather of comprehensive plans here.
Yeah, I know we do when we have staff meetings and discussions also, we always mention what we do comes back to the comprehensive plan and looking through it and making sure that, you know, we're working towards that and how we're acting, working towards that. But as far as like sitting down with the board and come specific goals for the year, said I haven't heard of that occurring. I've only obviously been here a few months, but it's not a bad idea to do that, so.
Same thing I brought up to Jared a few weeks or probably a couple months ago is ag land. One of our goals is to save ag land as much as we possibly can. But there's nothing, no metrics here that we can say that we've done that. Or we haven't done it and now this is why. I'd like to see something like that.
Or a target of, we want 80% of something.
Something, we don't even know. Every time I hear ag land going down, was just on 5 and 20 the other day, we heard about it. Pleasure Acres losing all that acreage. You know,
Yeah,
what's
it's not,
that? What's that?
it's a good idea. From my previous world, we had our annual goals that we set at the beginning of the year and tried to accomplish, and so.
You gotta have focus and then we have this great plan, but how are we doing? That's what metrics. That's for
And
me.
which ones do we need to pay attention to? I think
Yeah.
the development office is also looking for guidance on things that they might put more pressure on or advertising to or something like that. So, and we ran into it a while ago. We keep the industrial land because we don't have a lot of it. And if that's still something that, does the community still want that? Then maybe they promote it. I mean, that's probably the smallest one. You guys know, I get all the environmental stuff, not because I'm a tree hugger. But I care about that giant body of water out there that is what our community revolves around. And that's gonna be a big project ultimately if we look at, so the agricultural land is actually probably what's conflicting with the health of that, for example. So how do we balance those in the community?
Yeah.
It's probably not house it, it's probably, I mean, I think when we start looking at numbers and everything else that comes with it, we're gonna run into stuff that maybe the community can't do it all, but we can look at it and say, okay, affordable housing might be one that we do target with the changes. That we're trying to do form-based code. We're obviously having a lot of fun with that.
And
Everybody,
I
everybody's
say-
bringing us one that's not that, so that's all, just a suggestion that maybe.
No, good points.
Yeah.
Maybe we pick
Appreciate
a
your-
topic a month or every other month, maybe it's 5 or 6 topics a year, kind of like we did with the project. And say, how are we doing? Let's define affordable housing, because I know that's
Yeah.
your passion. And how do we strengthen that community and remind ourselves of why?
Right.
Yeah.
So. just
I would
as a-
say kudos to the town also for coming up with this nice app. Fantastic there. Great. I get notifications now to what's going on in town. It's great. Be a great place to keep these metrics, also showing the town how well we're doing.
Actually, I don't know which app you're talking about.
I didn't.
Oh,
there's
man, it's
no-
great. It was in the newsletter.
Yeah,
Did you read that?
Which one? The one that just came out?
Yeah.
My TOC on in the App Store,
All right.
Yeah.
my
Great.
TOC.
I'm happy. I should have it.
All right, and I guess one thing we didn't talk about were the guidelines with the landscaping and again, you know, we're looking forward to anything that comes out of ECB on that.
Yeah, I need to catch up on it, but there's so much stuff in motion on that. We talked about that too, that I think we can help. Some of that. I need to spend some time with it.
Okay. All right, thanks for everyone's comments. I think that pretty well covers it. Anything else? If not,
Make a motion to adjourn at 7:33 PM.
I'll second. You gentlemen have anything to add? I'm sorry, I didn't really call on you, but you're just here observing, watching. Thanks for coming out. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.